Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Suit Up Geek Fix podcast. Hope you guys having a fantastic motherfucking night. We're here talking about Loki, season 1, episode 3. I'm going to say season 1 because I think we all assume there's going to be a season 2 at least. But you know what? How's everyone's night going? How you guys all doing? We're here, relax, chill, have a drink. And we're going to be talking about some Loki episode 3. Not as big as I would say the previous 2 episodes, but definitely a lot more deep dived on Loki. And as we find out Lady Loki within this episode, before we get on to me, I just want to know what your general thoughts and opinions are on this episode. Deebs, why don't you just hit us away?
All right, what's going on, guys? Thank you, everyone, for joining. Be sure to comment. Let us know your thoughts on Loki. First up, I thought it was really interesting that this episode was written by the head writer of Miss Marvel, which we're going to be getting into this episode. And for me personally, I actually enjoyed this episode. So the fact that we've had a lot of really strong character moments, which is so important to Miss Marvel moving forward in that series, I'm absolutely thrilled. Just like the first 2 episodes, Tom Hiddleston continues to elevate the material 100%. I love the production design in this episode. There was a clip where like the moon or the planet was like coming at them. It was like almost that like tracking scene, that tracking shot. Like we haven't seen that since Daredevil. That since like the hallway scene, it was epic. It was so well done. It felt like this episode purely felt like watching something from Doctor Who. I don't know if you guys enjoy Doctor Who or not, but yeah, it's there were some reveals in this episode, but overall I thought Lady Loki, aka Sylvie, and I thought Tom Hiddleston's Loki had great chemistry given the small amount of time that they had on the small screen, and I enjoyed it. What about you?
What about you, Loretta?
I loved it. It's honestly like nearly almost as much as the premiere. Probably one of my favorite episodes so far out of the 3, which is weird to say. But I saw a lot of discourse about, oh, how boring. Oh, it was a filler. And it's just like, I'm just like, what was everybody else watching? Because I had a grand time. It was a sci-fi adventure, like Indiana Jones landing on the planet of pitch black, bathed in the Black Panther purple. Like it was just gorgeous. The apocalyptic setting of Lamentis, the moon of Lamentis, whatever. It was a really fun setting that, I think it's important to know who Sylvie is and what are we going to get out of between these 2 characters. And I thought it was really interesting to see them play off each other, to see Loki open up a little bit about his mother. And it's just interesting also that he was so willingly able to share that. So I'm just curious what his end game is, because I'm still not quite sure, if I'm being honest. And I'm not even quite sure what Sylvie's endgame is. And maybe that's why people are frustrated with the episode. But entertainment-wise, like the fight scenes are great. And the ambiguous ending where it's just like, okay, so wait, are they going to die? Like, because they have no way off of this moon that's about to get destroyed. So I thought the stakes were great. And overall, just very entertaining for me. I love this show so far.
Can I say something real quick? And then
go on.
I need to give props to Natalie Holt. I have been raving about the score in this series, the first 2 episodes. I thought the score in this episode was by far its strongest yet. There was a clip where you could hear like the tick-tocking, and it just started to ramp up and ramp up and ramp up during that tracking shot. It was awesome. Natalie Holt, man, just blowing it out of the water.
No, yeah. Honestly, I absolutely love this episode just as much as you guys did. And I feel like with the complaint about it being a quote-unquote filler episode isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I feel like the way and the connotation people are putting it is, I feel like when it comes to filler episodes, there are good at filler episodes and bad filler episodes. There's filler episodes that just have you fill up that time space within that season, but Loki does not have that time. So this is a filler episode that is much needed for us to dive within these 2 characters in only a 6 episode arc, which is pretty fucking crazy. And this was a pretty not running too long episode. It was a pretty short episode. It ran about, I would say, 35 minutes without credits, compared to the other 45, 50-minute episodes. And this is a much more, I don't want to say mature, but much more trying to think of the word. We get to know Loki and Sylvie a lot within this episode. And something I really like, because we've throughout the MCU, we have gotten Loki. We've seen different versions of him. And when I say different versions, I mean how he acts. In Thor Ragnarok, he acts different. He sacrifices himself. In Infinity War, Thor the Dark World, he plays the half good guy, half bad guy. So every time we see him, he's a different role within that film. And in this show, it's just supposed to show who he really is and really dig deep on that character. I mean, I would hope so, at least, since it's called Loki. But I really think we got about that. And I think within this episode, it was around halfway through, we've got one of the best conversations, I think, when they were on the train. And this is, I don't know if it's a massive reveal or not, but I think a lot of people have been leading into this moment from the first time we saw a specific trailer. I think it might have been trailer 2 or 3 for Loki, but on the trailer, it shows his ID card or his classification, and it shows gender fluid, and everyone was like, oh, Loki is this, Loki's that. But in this episode, they finally confirmed that Loki is bisexual, that he leans both ways at the end of the day, which I thought was a really nice take, but also didn't really linger on that too much and didn't really make it much more than it needed to be. So with this being like the first or one of the biggest moments within the show, just because of the character moment, what do you guys think about this whole coming out bisexual for Loki within this scene? I'll just go right to you, Deebs.
I loved it. Like, of course I loved it. Like, I was actually surprised about it, to be honest, because I thought for sure it was going to go down like Eternals and moving forward. Not in Loki. That was like by far the least thing I was expecting with Tom Hiddleston's character. But I don't care about that stuff. Like, I hope it has some sort of impact, down the road in these last 3 episodes, and see where that goes. It was kind of a shock because I don't know about you guys though. Like, that was great, but I had this like weird kind of connection between Loki and Sylvie. Did anybody else feel that? Like, there was
I know exactly what you mean. I felt the same exact way. I thought they were gonna hook up by the end of
it was a very flirtatious tension.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, and it would be so on brand for Loki to fall in love with himself. Like, he's a narcissist. Like, of course he would love himself. I don't know. I enjoyed it though. I enjoyed the reveal.
No, yeah. What about you, Loretta? What did you think about this reveal? I was gonna say monstrous or gigantic reveal, but it really isn't. What do you think about this reveal, Loretta?
I loved it, and it's funny because I was laughing at the joke. She was like, "Oh, is there a princess or a prince in your life?" And I was like, haha. And then he was like, "Oh, once upon a time, a little bit of both." I was like, "Oh, that's awesome!" Like, I feel like it's so brave, and it's so, like you said, it didn't like shove it down our throats. It was just like, haha. And then they just kept going with the conversation, and it was fine. I think I think the representation is needed. And coming from Loki, it makes a lot of sense. He's a wacky, off-the-wall, mischievous character that is snarkily charming, and like he could go both ways, and that's totally fine. And actually, honestly, it makes a lot of sense for Loki to be that. So.
Yeah, no, I totally get what you guys mean. And this next thing, I don't know if it's going to be more of an open-ended question determining whether this character will go within the season. I guess I'll just see how you guys feel about it. And that's the reveal of Sylvie, or half reveal of Sylvie in this episode, because she's very back and forth about being called Loki and Sylvie, because she can... from what I got throughout the episode, or from that scene in particular, is that she is a Lady Loki, but she just doesn't like to be called a Loki, just because she's pretty much sees how Tom Hiddleston Loki is. And I think that's kind of the brand that the title has bringing to the name Loki. And maybe she obviously wants to do something different. I think it was kind of obvious if you've kept track with this show. I'm going to talk shit about AJ because he's not on here, but I just want to say that Enchantress was a bit of a far one, my man. Go ahead, Deebs.
So it's I think they combined it. They combined Enchantress and they combined Loki into Lady Loki is Sylvie. And I think for me personally, I am getting super. I know by the way, this is spoilers. Spoilers. If you haven't seen it, obviously. But this is, I don't know if you guys caught this vibe. I am 99.9% sure that Sylvie is Loki's daughter. And Enchantress is the wife of Loki down the road. And somehow we can get into it later, but that is going to be revealed as his daughter.
Yeah, it's not too far-fetched because if we really look at it, Lady Loki or Sylvie, we don't really know much about her. We don't know about her, where she comes from. We don't know her backstory too much. We just know what she's trying to do with the TVA at this point. And honestly, dudes, I gotta be with you. That's a pretty good theory. I didn't even think about that, but after watching this episode, it makes a lot more sense. And if we look at what Tom Hiddleston said like a few days before, he said that things really started gearing up in episode 4 and 5. And this is only a 6-episode season. So you guys take that as you please. But Loretto, what did you think about this?
About his theory?
No, about Lady Loki being revealed, technically, I guess you can say.
Oh, she's wonderful. And I like that she's flawed. I like that she's not OP because that's how she came off in the first couple episodes, like the mysterious figure just wiping through the TVA like she's the fucking Winter Soldier, and then like I like seeing her kind of like Loki get the better of her here and there, and I like how he was making fun of so what's your plan? Kill everybody and take a train, and like just kind of poking fun at how like she just fucking like mauls her way through things. So I thought it was cool that they showed like the characteristics of a villain like that's not completely like fleshed out. Like it's true. She like both her and Loki, I don't think they really know what they want. They just want to cause chaos and mischief, but they don't really know what their like. I don't know if they know what their end game is. They have a plan. But then it's like, what happens when they get to this part of the plan, And it's really interesting seeing them play off each other. I think she's great. Do you guys? I didn't get a chance to watch the credits. I was actually watching on the road. What's her name? The actress?
Ooh,
I'm not sure.
I'm gonna look it up because
we are awful. We're all like talking about.
No, I just saw it like the other today too, and it's really bothering me. I have it like on the tip of my tongue right now.
And really quick, just to speak to Dives 3 while you look that up, Rye. I made the face because I was just like, we just talked about them flirting with each other, and I'm just like, I really hope not. Like, it's like so.
Her name is Sophie D.
Martino.
Like Back to the Future. It's like no.
Yeah, her name is Sophia Di Martino. That's the actress's name. Yeah, she did. Honestly, she kicked a lot of ass in this episode, and I think another thing that really makes this episode, before we get into like the big reveal of the episode, I guess you can say, and the twist ending or the jaw dropping, oh my god, what the fuck is going to happen, cliffhanger at the end, is I really like the setting of this episode. Yeah. Everything looks like a painted facade. It looks so majestic and gorgeous that it's not only within this episode. I've noticed it throughout the entire show so far, whether it's this desolate planet that's about to be hit by a moon that's breaking up, that really reminded me of Infinity War. Yeah. You never know. Imagine if they connected Infinity War and said, hey man, that was the planet that crushed through the other planet before it hit Iron Man. That's really fucking far out there. But you know what? I want to give props to the setting, or honestly, I really don't know who to give props to in this context. Do you give props to the VFX or do you give props to the set design? Both. You know what I mean? Both. I guess
the city where the Ark was, it had like a cyberpunk Blade
Runner
feel.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I love Blade Runner. So I was just like, this is beautiful. Like, so I would give it both set design and visual effects.
Yeah, they both fucking killed it throughout this episode. But let's get a little bit more to your thoughts. Deebs, what do you think about the setting, the look of this episode? Because I think it definitely draws out a lot more people than the past 2 episodes when it comes to setting.
I mean, I think you nailed it, man. I thought it was awesome, and it was just truly emphasized there in that last scene, that last tracking shot when they're like going and weaving in and out, action set to action set, and it was just great. And I love that last scene where you see Loki and there's a building falling on top of him, and he uses his telekinesis powers, which was awesome. And that was like a major, major moment for Loki. We actually got powers from Loki this week. That was jaw-dropping. And then they see the explosion going on. It was just a beautiful episode, top to bottom. Yeah, I'll say my predictions for what's going to happen next.
No, yeah. What about you, Loretto?
Yeah, honestly, because if we're gonna talk about moments that we just loved, like that was my favorite moment of the episode. I was waiting. I was like, they teased. Mobius was teasing like, oh yeah, you can use your powers here, and it's like he didn't do it, and I was like, he's the god of mischief. Like he hasn't done any of his his disappearing acts and all that. And then I loved it, everything, the fireworks out of his hand, and then he the joke where he like gets a pen and a paper, like, oh, let me write that down, like just wonderful. Like that is Loki to his core, like his magic and his mischief, and it was brilliant. And I also liked how he was trying to play to the wife's dead husband, like, oh, it's been a long time, and then she just blasts him. It was just great. I was just so it was awesome to see him use his skill set, because the first 2 episodes he was just a guy talking to Owen Wilson, so.
Yeah, I also really like the moment where he was doing the drunk metaphor with the knife and being stabbed in the heart, which was a good one. I was like, bro, where is this going? And they're like, it's just he's just drunk. And I'm like, yeah, that seems about right there. But before we get really into our theories and stuff, because I know that's really where these Marvel series, not Winter Soldier and the Falcon or whatever the fuck they call themselves at this point, not them. We're talking about WandaVision and Loki here, because this is where the theories really come in. If it's even possible I fell in love with him again. No, that is not possible. I hate to tell you that. Sorry. You're only allowed to fall in love with him once, ma'am. Take keepers, finders, takers, keepers, whichever the way the sayings go. But you know what I got to say to that? What did you guys think about the big reveal or semi-big reveal on what her plan is, or what Sylvie's plan is? And if you guys don't know, I mean, I don't really know if I should say spoiler or not, because we've already said it, but spoiler at this point. I just gotta say, man, I thought it's a really interesting concept that the TVA are all variants. That's not something that I was expecting for some reason. It seemed like an obvious answer once they said it, but looking back at it, I'm like, is it really that obvious? And it just really gives you the question, how is Mobius going to act to this when this comes out? And Deebs, I'll go straight to you because I know you got some great shit to talk about.
I don't know. Some weird person with no hair that wears a hat all the time literally guessed exactly what's about to go down. Did I not say Lady Loki and Sylvie, and Mobius are going to team up and take down the TVA? Do you remember there's a small quote by Loki in this episode where it's like Loki realizes that they're all variants, and Loki's like, not all of them know that. He was directly referring to Mobius. So that was a really interesting scene. So I'm giving myself my pat on my back, because that's definitely going to go down. I definitely feel that those 3 are definitely going to team up and take down the TVA, which, at the start of this series was like the most powerful thing in the universe, the galaxy. I think that was, flip-flopped a little bit. I think that turned a little bit of a 180. I don't know how exactly powerful the TVA is at this point. But I think the major prevailing vibe I got here is that this is definitely, some sort of trick on Loki. What did we see in that first beginning scene? Sylvie was manipulating, using her magic on one of those female TVA people. I think there's a possibility that she's doing the same thing on Loki here, that started out when when he was drunk and dancing and all that kind of stuff. Because we know Loki and Sylvie aren't going to die. Let's be real. That's not going to happen. I think there's, one's playing another's playing another. That's what Lokis do, and that's what I expect here. My other prevailing vibe, what if we got it like an old man Loki? What if we had old man Loki shows up and saves the day, and they just kind of walk out? What if Loki never actually destroyed that device, and he played a trick on Sylvie for the fact that he just wanted to kind of learn more about her and try and find out her motives? and see what her shtick is all about. So those are like my big three right now.
No, honestly, I definitely agree. What about you, Loretto? What are your thoughts on this scene?
I'm actually kind of like because that was my thought, Dives. My thought was like, because he's done that. We're like, oh, this is the Tesseract. No, this is really the Tesseract. Like he can pull anything out of his damn hand. So how do we know it's really broken? So I think that was a prevailing thought for me. And then, it's interesting because I feel like they both want to take down the TV, they want to meet the timekeepers and take on the TVA, but for different reasons. But I feel like at some point they are going to accomplish that together. I'm just not quite sure how that's going to play out. But there's another side of me that kind of hopes Mobius sweeps in and saves the day, but I feel like that'd be too convenient. So yeah, I'm excited. I feel like the enchanting mind thing you're talking about, that would be wild. That'd be some like M. Night Shyamalan shit, man. Like
I definitely think when it comes to Mobius, I definitely think he's just gonna come in last second. Like the opening of the first episode, he's gonna be like, "You thought you could run and pull them both through the thing or something like that." Or hell, they might split them apart and then we go one episode where it's Loki and Mobius, and then episode 5 we find out, oh shit, Lady Loki actually did survive after being left on the planet, and then that's another twist right there, which definitely seems likely within a Loki series. Just a bunch of, oh, you think that happened? Nah, this really happened, where they just play a bunch of tricks and stuff on us. And I gotta say, it's really weird that we're only halfway through this show at this point. I mean, it's only 6 episodes. Yeah, sure. But when you look at it as a whole, it's just like we've gotten so much information within these first 3 episodes. So guys, before we start getting to like some final thoughts, we got to get to the theories on this. This is really where it comes into play. And I know Deebs has said some of his theories before, but like I'm gonna say it right now. I think what's gonna happen is maybe with what Deebs said, where Lady Loki is like his daughter, and it's really weird because she knows how this Loki acts. So you kind of get that gist that she knows him within a familiar or family point of view. I don't know if it's going to be a child of Loki's exactly, but it might be a family relative within the future, because it seems like when we've been looking at these disasters or these big apocalyptic events, a lot of them have been in the future. We've seen a few in the past, but most of them have been taking place past 2025 or so. So I definitely think that is a high possibility with what Deeb said. But we also got to take in consideration what Lady Loki Sylvia said, is she's not trying to take down the TVA. So at the end of the day, what is her end goal? That's really what I've not figured out yet. That's what I'm trying to figure out, obviously. But before I try and help figure it out, I want to get some of your thoughts and opinions on what you think Sylvie or Lady Loki's end game or end goal you think is with this show. We'll go right to you, Deebs. Hit us with it.
Yeah, she's clearly a variant. I think she said she spent her whole life running away from the TVA. I think she just wants to live a life without being hunted down by the TVA, and she doesn't want to abide with that sacred timeline. I think that is her motive, is to like give a big FU to these people that have shat on her since she was being born. What if that, there was kind of some vibes that she might be trans and she might be a male or female, and that's a big reason why she's being hunted down. And there's a lot of theories going on right now. But the theory that I love the most is the fact that we got to reveal that the TVA are all variants. You do know what that means? That means that Mobius could be a professional jet ski driver in his previous life, which, if that's not the final post-credit scene of this show, like Mobius going back to his previous life and just riding the shit out of some waves, that'd just be a missed opportunity.
Dude, no, the final scene is just Mobius and Loki jetting off into the sunset with a jet ski, and then it just closes with the end, and you're just like, wow. I really felt that. That's really good. But what about you, Loretto? What do you think about this variant and some of your theories within this?
I'm terrible with this stuff. I wish AJ was here, but
This is hard.
What?
Yeah, it's hard. No, it's hard, dude.
Really, it could go anywhere.
Yeah,
I
that's my issue.
Yeah,
Because I know she has an issue with the TVA, but I don't know what exactly she wants. And I think you're right. Maybe she just wants freedom. But I'm still trying to figure out what Loki wants with her, because it seems like he has his own intentions of befriending her and getting to know her and stuff. And maybe he actually wants to help her, or maybe he's just trying to like use her for his scheme. But I still don't know what he's trying to do. All I know is that he's fascinated with the power that the timekeepers have. So how he gets to meet the timekeepers, that'll be interesting. When and where or how they get off this godforsaken planet. So
I had this thought, like, what if, like, because I keep thinking like Kang is going to be like, he's definitely running everything behind the scenes. He's like the Wizard of Oz, like behind the curtains, running everything in the TVA. What if it was Loki? What if it was like an old man Loki running everything in the future?
I mean, oh, dude, what is the actor? There's supposed to be a big name actor in this. I'm trying to find his name. I don't remember who it is.
Richard E.
Yeah. Yeah, him. And he hasn't shown up in the show yet. There's 3 episodes left. So it's starting to look more and more likely that he might be playing an older Loki that might be part of the TVA or something like that, which I think would be pretty cool and stuff like that. But yeah, like you said, Deebs, the whole Kang the Conqueror stuff seems, I don't want to say as likely, but as the show keeps going on, it seems likelier that it might happen. It's really hard to see what everyone's end game is, especially now that we know everyone within the TVA is a variant. So it's not like they really know what's going on, because like they said in the first and second episode, they don't know who those 3 are. They don't know who the timekeepers are. They've never met them. They've never talked to them. And that's the one thing I'm kind of confused on. Maybe you guys can help me figure this out a little bit. Is I think it was in last episode, might have been last episode or the first episode, when C20 got brought back from the to the TVA after being captured by Lady Loki. Yeah. She said she gave away the location of the timekeepers, but how does she know that if no one knows them? You know what I mean? Is that like something they're hinting towards something?
At the end of the intro, she figured out where the elevators were. And I guess the elevators is where leads to the timekeepers or whatever. So,
but how would she know that? How do you know it doesn't lead to hell?
There's so many questions, man. Honestly, I love it. I love the mystery right now. It's just great. I'm having a great time.
No, honestly, I definitely agree. Go ahead, Deebs.
I think in terms of motives, like that's what's so fun about this series right now, at least for me. Like on one hand, you have Loki. Loki wants to, be in control. Loki wants to dominate. He wants to take over the timekeepers. On the other hand, you have this subplot about Loki and his mother, Loki and Sylvie potentially maybe having a daughter. You have Loki and everything that went down in the past and in the future with Thor. Like I truly do think that like Loki and Thor's end game is them eventually like living their lives together. Like that's always been what Thor his motivations have been. I don't know. I do see there's a side that Loki wants to settle down. You kind of see that like he does want a relationship. He does want, that reciprocating bond with somebody else. So it's interesting. So I have, like you said, Loretto, I have no idea where this is going. I have some theories, but I think that's what's so fun about this show so far is that there are so many different routes this could go.
Yeah, I definitely think when we think about how this show or season might end, I think we should really look at the fact that where's Loki gonna go after all this? Because as we know, it's hard to really like implement this in my mind. For me, at least, it's still hard to really think that this is 2012 Loki. I don't know if that's because we've seen Loki throughout the MCU this entire time. We've seen him grow. And so, yeah, go ahead, Deebs, if you got something.
The other big one, and this is just a thought, is that we kind of got it, especially in episode 2. Loki wants to be the best Loki. Like it could be as simple as Loki is learning all the ins and outs of Sylvie and is eventually going to expose her and take advantage of her and manipulate her and show that he is the best. And then when that happens, he's probably going to have to make some sort of decision, whether that's for the TVA or himself or for the betterment of whatever, the sacred timeline. So that could be possible.
No, yeah, definitely. I think it's really weird thinking about this show. I don't know. I feel like when we were talking about WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, two very different shows. With WandaVision, I feel like every week all four of us had a completely different theory. It was fucking wild bananas. We didn't know what was gonna happen, but we were down like a sort of course where we could kind of assume how things would go, which I guess you can say we kind of got right. But with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it was a pretty straightforward show. The only thing we could really guess about was who the man, I don't even remember, dude. That's how bad the Sharon Carter reveal was in that show. That's all I gotta say is I forgot the name of her villainous role. But now with this show,
the power broker,
power broker, yeah, the power broker. Oh my God, the power broker.
I do think we could get a Freya cameo at some point in this show. I do. If there's like one cameo,
dude, this is probably not gonna happen, but it's just wild to think. What if Thor was Loki's son all along?
What?
Steve's is just like, what the fuck? No,
I mean he lied. I mean Odin lied about.
Yeah, what wouldn't he lie about? Well, at that point,
why not? Why
not?
You know what's interesting though that we never brought up is that the TVA addressed Loki in the first episode as Loki's son. They didn't call him Loki Odin's son. I just thought that was interesting. I was like, damn, they really said it. They really did it. Because that was one of my favorite parts of Infinity War when Loki accepts himself as Odin's son. But that's a wild theory, right?
No, but like honestly, like you said, they didn't say Odin's son, they said Loki's son. So you never know. He might be an apostle to a higher up Loki that we just haven't met yet, which could be old man Loki. So all around, I feel like it just interweaves and interconnects. But does anyone have any more theories or something before we get to final thoughts?
It's the most complicated family of all time.
Dude, honestly, it's far from even complicated.
Can I just say one thing though? Because I'm not sure how the hell we're gonna get there, but every time we do these reviews, I stare at our background, that like screensaver shot.
Oh yes, dude, I was doing that today, and you're like, "How the fuck are we gonna get to this?"
Yeah, I'm just like, what is that picture? Like, what is that moment? Like, what is happening? Like,
I definitely think it's like a finale or end of fifth episode type of thing. I don't think it's a fourth episode. I don't think it's the beginning of a fifth episode, but I definitely think end of fifth, maybe sixth.
Can I just comment though? My man's has like a half samurai helmet with like forks in it.
Bro, it's got a Loki badge on top.
Football war paint.
He's got a Loki badge on his hat too. So it's just like, was Loki running for president or something back then that we didn't know about?
I'm so confused.
Dude, honestly, I really enjoy this show. Ironically enough, I didn't expect this show to at least go towards the more intimate route with this character. I expected us to deep dive a little bit more, but we're getting a much more deeper dive per se than I'd assume we'd gotten. But yeah, let's just get into some final thoughts and stuff like that and our grades. Let's go right to you, Deebs. Go ahead, my man.
We touched on pretty much everything. Like my favorite scene, like as great as that final tracking shot was, you nailed it, Ryan. My favorite scene was when Sylvia and Loki were sitting on the train and just kind of like talking intimately. There was a scene like, what is love? And Sylvia said like, love is hate. That was such a really interesting quote there. And then Loki responded eventually saying, love is basically an imaginary dagger. Talk about two characters that are completely lost. And I thought that was really interesting. I think it's already been revealed, again, spoiler, that Tom Hiddleston said episodes 4 and 5 are going to be the ones that, truly shake up everything in the MCU. So I think it's pretty much a lock that episodes 4 and 5 will be Mobius, Sylvie, and Loki taking on the TVA here and trying to overthrow the Timekeepers. I think the next couple episodes, I think we're going to get a lot more information on who the Timekeepers are, and I don't necessarily think they're like these three heads. I Oh, maybe it could be like
I think
like
it's a one. I think it's a one-person operation, to be
you think
honest.
so? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a one-person operation. But do you have
Yeah.
anything else, grades and stuff
Oh,
like that?
I'll give this. I'll give it an 8.8. It's my second favorite episode. We had Matt. I think this comment here saying this was his least favorite episode, which is interesting. I can't find the chat. He said the third episode was solid, but not as good as the first two episodes. I'm the opposite. I like this. I didn't like the premiere. I like the second episode because we finally got moving here, and then the third episode was great. So I'll give it an 8.8 for me. A little bit less than my 9 in episode 2.
What about you, Loretta? What are some of your final thoughts and your final grade for episode 3 of Loki?
I love everything about this show. I feel like when it's all said and done, it's probably going to be my favorite MCU Disney Plus show. 9.2 for my grade. I think I gave the premiere like a 9.5. They're on the same level for me. I'm having a blast. I'm having fun. Visually striking, like WandaVision was amazing with the TV episodic sets and costumes, but this is like a whole nother level. It's a brand of like sci-fi rock'em sock'em adventure that I just love. Like, I love science fiction. I love action adventure. Like, them getting on the train kind of remind me of like Indiana Jones when they're like hiding from the Nazis, like on the fucking the Zeppelin or whatever the fuck it was. And it's just it's fun. I love those types of adventures. And I also love like these two characters that are like they like each other, they don't like each other, but they're like trying to get to know each other, but they're actually kind of like at odds with each other. It just makes for an interesting dynamic. And I can't wait to see what the hell happens and then how the hell that guy got forks in his helmet.
Ryan, after review, can I ask like one quick question before?
Go ahead right now.
Right now?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so you had, you look at WandaVision. It had a clear beginning, middle, and end. You look at Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It truly had, what it wanted to be, which was set up the new Captain America, and set up some other like little stories that are going to be planted moving forward. What is the end game of Loki? Does anybody have any freaking clue where this is going?
I don't have any clue how it will end or where it's going, but I think the main purpose of this and how the show will end will just give us a more definitive look on who the character Loki is within this universe, because we've seen him in Ragnarok, we've seen that more sympathetic in Thor the Dark World, and we've even seen him sacrifice himself within Avengers Infinity War. But I think now within this show, it's allowing us to see what really goes on within deep in him that helped make those decisions, because even I would say Thor the Dark World came out 2013, right? Yeah, Thor the Dark World came out 2013. And up until Avengers Infinity War, that was the last movie that coincided with the year date releases. So Avengers came out 2012. It took place in 2012. That's how they like to keep it, right? So within Thor the Dark World, it only took place within a year after, or even previously to a year after the first Avengers film. And we don't really know much, but we see that sympathetic side from him in that cage that he's in the jail cell. We see that he doesn't like it. He still loves his mother. He has this part for Thor because we see him go on this giant monstrous journey until he dies in the film. So I definitely think the whole intention of meeting Lady Loki is to help find who he truly is within himself. And I think that's what the biggest outcome of this series will be, other than like the big reveals that set up the other movies. But for the character wise, I think that's what we're really going to get. We're going to find that true stride and inspiration for the Loki we've come to know and love. But overall, for the episode, I'm just going to say my grade real quick. I think it was a 9.2. I like these. I guess a lot of people say filler episodes. I said this from the beginning, but this was a necessary filler episode. This gave us more on Loki. This gave us more on Lady Loki, and this gave us more on their connection and all that. I love character dialogue. I like when it gets down and gritty to who these characters are, especially with Loki. This character has been in the MCU for 10 years now, and now we're finally breaking the surface. We're breaking in within him to finally learn who he truly is. And overall, I think that's what I found most rewarding about this episode. Because when we see him drunk, he makes that whole love speech. and then he breaks I forgot the name of the teleportation, the door teleportation device, the
temp
TMP.
pad.
Yeah, the temp pad. The temp pad. We see him break the temp pad, but then he's got another plan because that's who he is. And honestly, that's what I really love about this show. That's what I love about the Loki character. I haven't been as big as a Loki fan as much as everyone else, but this show definitely put him much higher up on my spectrum for me. But before we finally wrap this up, guys, does anyone have any final flicking words for us?
I just
Go
want
ahead.
to say shouts out to him drunkly singing the Asgardian song.
Yes!
That was, yeah.
Fantastic. That was just awesome. I was like, give me
Never
another
forget where you
episode
come
of
from.
that.
Never forget where you come from.
It's
The-
way
Drunk Loki.
It was way better than like, I don't know, that one character sniffing sweaters in that terrible
God.
movie we're going to talk about. But anyway, is that the first Asgard like song or like language you've ever heard in the MCU? Like, I feel
I
like
think we've heard it before, but I don't think we've heard it as like prolonged as we did it within
was
this
great.
episode.
That was
Yeah,
good.
it was a great moment. Like I
And
said,
Tom Hiddleston can carry a tune.
yeah, that entire train sequence was just character, and that's what I love so much
Yes.
about it. And honestly, guys, with what Tom Hiddleston said about 4 and 5, it's hard sitting here really telling you what I think is going to happen because it hasn't really subverted my expectations, but it also has at the same time, because once we get into episode 4, we have to figure out what the fuck is going on with the end of episode 2 because Lady Loki created all these different timelines.
Yeah,
now.
it's
So
true.
now we have that whole mess to clean up with. But guys, I think we're good here. Loki episode 3 was phenomenal. I think it's safe to say we all truly did love this episode. Loki singing when he was drunk was a great moment.
So good.
Honestly, it was, Matt. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you guys all so much for tuning in. And as per usual, we'll see you guys next week for Loki episode 4. See you guys on the next one. Peace.